So yesterday, Empire Magazine released a new image and some new information like they have been for the last few days. The image we got was of Loak placing his hand on the Tolkien, and that was an amazing picture on its own. But the most important part for me was the information in the article, and one sentence in particular. For most, a throwaway line, but today I wanted to give you the complete breakdown of what that line really meant. So when describing his ambitions for the epic scope of the Avatar sequels, James Cameron said, "Imagine a series of novels like The Lord of the Rings existed and we're adapting them. Now that was great in theory, but then I had to go create the frickin' novels from which to adapt." So to most, they just took the headline, James Cameron compares Avatar to The Lord of the Rings. But let me break down what he really meant. See, J.R.R. Tolkien is famous for writing The Hobbit and then the 3-part sequel, The Lord of the Rings. But as well as the actual novels, Tolkien had written so many notes throughout his work on those novels, explaining the entire history, different species, mythology, beliefs, and creatures. Because these notes weren't stories, but just all background information that informed the writing of any future novel like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so the notes informed the novels, and then in turn those novels years later got adapted by Peter Jackson into the Lord of the Rings movies we know and love. Which brings us to the Avatar sequels. Most people don't know that James Cameron has gone through the exact same 3-step process. Except like he states, he had to create the freaking novels. Before any writing for the sequel's actual story could take place, James sat down for a year and wrote 1,500 pages of notes. And yes, these are in addition to the entire world building and ecosystem he had established for the first movie already. During a talk in 2014, he said this, "'Cause the first thing I did was sat for a year and wrote 1,500 pages of notes of the world and the cultures and the different clans and different animals and different biomes and so on. And had a lot of loose thematic stuff that ran through that, but I didn't have a concrete story. I wanted to approach it more like, guys, we're going to adapt a novel or series of novels. Because I felt that kind of detail. Even if movies can't ever be that detailed, it can be visually detailed, it can't be that detailed in terms of character and culture. But you always get this tip of the iceberg kind of thing. You sense it's there off camera or in the past of the moment that you're seeing. So I felt that was the way to do it." So from here, he took these 1,500 pages of notes and hired some writers from notable projects like the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy, the Sarah Connor TV series, and the Armageddon movie, in order to craft a big epic saga to tell across 3 films. Because at this time in 2014, it was going to be 3 sequels. But it then later grew to 4 sequels because it was too ambitious for just 3 films. But at the time, he had this to say on the writing process. "We tried an experiment. We set ourselves a challenge of writing 3 films at the same time. And I could certainly write any one of them, but to write 3 in some reasonable amount of time, we wanted to shoot them together, so we couldn't start one until all 3 scripts were done and approved. So I knew I was going to have to parallel process, which meant I would have to work with other writers. And the best experience I had working with other writers was in television when I did Dark Angel. The television room is a highly collaborative, fun experience. So we put together 3 teams, one for each script. The teams consist of me and another writer on each of the 3 films. So I'm across all the films, and then each one of them would have their own individual script they were responsible for. But what we did that was unique was we sat in the writing room for 5 months, 8 hours a day, and we worked out every beat of the story across all 3 films, so it all connects as one sort of 3-film saga. and I didn't tell them which one was going to be theirs individually to write until the last day. So everyone was equally invested story-wise in all 3 films. So for example, the guy that got movie 3, which is the middle one of this new trilogy, he now knows exactly what preceded and what follows out of what he's writing at any given moment. We all consider that to be a really exciting, creative, and groundbreaking experiment in screenwriting. I don't know if that necessarily yields great scripts, but it certainly worked for us as a process to get our minds around this kind of epic with all these new creatures, environments, and characters and all that. So honestly, I'm blown away. I know most have focused on the technological reasons of why these sequels have taken so long, but just as amazing to me is how much was invested into the writing of all these sequels. Not only did they have 1,500 pages of a story Bible to go off to create these stories, but sitting down for 5 months, 8 hours a day to craft and outline every detail of the saga is insane. And then after that, still develop and finalize each script before cameras even got rolling on Avatar 2 and 3. Hollywood doesn't take this type of time to craft the stories and scripts for these big blockbuster movies. Take the recent Star Wars trilogy as a prime example. Trilogy greenlit. No notes, not even a story outline was created in order to be aware of the overall story they wanted to tell. Hired 3 different directors and basically gave each free rein to do with each as they will. Episode 8 didn't run with things that Episode 7 set up. They didn't like what Colin Trevorrow was doing with Episode 9, so they got J.J. Abrams from 7 to make that one and backtrack on stuff that Episode 8 did. It just blows my mind. But this is why James Cameron compared it to The Lord of the Rings. We got the same 3-step process. Notes, then detailed story outlines, which could be considered the novels, then to final scripts, which is like adapting those novels into movies like Peter Jackson did. Will they turn out remotely as good? Who knows? But the fact that they have gone through that whole process is already a huge win and a boost of confidence for me. Especially because the loudest criticism the first Avatar movie has received is for its simple and familiar plot. But sorry if this ran too long for you guys. If you did make it to the end and liked what I had to say, consider dropping a like and subscribing for more of these type of Avatar videos. And let me know in the comments section what you guys think of this insane writing process for the Avatar sequels. And share this video so more people can hear about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video.